See, here's the tricky thing. I don't use condoms. Which way does this go? Dude, it actually works. Well, $750 22. I've made jokes in the past about that scene in Dr. No. You guys remember it, where M chastises Bond for carrying a shitty 25 ACP Beretta, a purse gun.
Yes, I thought so. This damn Beretta again. I've told you about this before. You tell him. For the last time.
It's nice and light. In a lady's handbag.
And he pushes the 32 ACP Walther PPK instead because he said the American CIA swear by them. It's silly to think the CIA carrying a Walther anything, much less a PPK in 32, or if you can imagine, a 22. But as they say, truth can be stranger than fiction. That's why it's really strange that intelligence agents actually carried a Walther in 22 LR, and possibly in a questionable manner. We're talking about another throwback carry gun, the Walther TPH, and birth control? Today on TFBTV. The Walther TPH is a pocket 22 LR or 25 ACP invented by Walther. TPH stands for Taschenpistole or pocket pistol hammer in German. The TPH was introduced in 1968 as an improved version of the similar Walther TP made from 61 to 71. Unfortunately, after the U.S. Gun Control Act of 1968 became law, small concealable handguns like the PPK and the TPH were banned from being imported to the U.S. because they were deemed to be, ironically, Saturday night specials. Only a very few German-made Walther TPHs were imported into the country, and those fetch thousands of dollars on auction sites today because of how rare they are. Sometime after the supply of German guns ran out, Inner Arms of Alexandria, Virginia began subcontracting the manufacture of the Walther TPH and the PPK under license from Walther Germany in the United States. It's rumored that Inner Arms was actually a front for the CIA and that CIA agents carried and used the Walther TPH. We'll address those rumors, including a discussion of whether or not CIA official protocol was to stuff them in condoms for deep carry in just a moment. Bear with me. Before we get to the specs, I want to talk to you about a very good friend of mine, Richard Hoffman. Richard was a gunsmith at Inner Arms from 1990 to 1999. Richard has an excellent YouTube channel, BWE Firearms. Make sure to go over there, check it out, subscribe, show the man some love, and sub to his videos because he knows a lot about guns. The TPH is basically an adorably teensy version of the already teensy PPK. Like the PPK, the TPH is straight blowback, meaning it doesn't have a breech locking system. Like the PPK, it has a fixed barrel that fits tightly in the slide, a feature that gives the TPH great accuracy. According to a 1996 edition of American Rifleman, their copy of the TPH shot 2-inch groups at 50 feet. The fixed barrel also makes the TPH ideal for suppression because the barrel doesn't move at all while it's cycling. With just a 2.8-inch long barrel, this gun's unlikely to send any 22 LR rounds to supersonic speeds, meaning that you can use just about any 22 LR with your suppressor and get ultra-quiet performance, even from hotter stuff like CCI Stinger. Similar to the PPK, the recoil springs assembled around the barrel, and while the original Walther TP had an open top slide like many compact Berettas of the day, the TPH has an enclosed breech with a regular ejection port just like the PPK. It's got a 60-degree safety here on the slide that's nearly identical to, you guessed it, the 1911. Just kidding. It's just like what you have in the Walther PPK. Basically, this gun is like the 22 caliber version of the PPK, but there are two significant differences. One, the TPH doesn't have a slide stop or a last round hold open. It will not hold open after you fire the last round out of the magazine. And two, the TPH uses this European style heel mag release while the PPK uses the traditional button mag release on the frame. The heel mag release is nice because it will prevent you from accidentally dropping the mag while the gun's stowed in your pocket. So it truly is a pocketable pistol with a capacity of 6+1 in 22. It's barely 3.5 inches tall, 0.9 inches thick, 5.3 inches long, and a mere 14.5 ounces in weight with this threaded barrel and an empty magazine, about the same as an S&W airweight revolver. The German version has an aluminum frame that's just 11.5 ounces, but unfortunately, I don't think we can get those in the United States. The US version of the TPH has an investment cast steel frame and a machined stainless slide and barrel. The TPH would be great for deep concealment if you were, I don't know, maybe a secret agent or something. According to my discussions with Richard, after the ban on the TPH, Interarms originally subcontracted the manufacture of this gun in the United States to Ranger Manufacturing Company in Gadsden, Alabama. To our international viewers out there, Gadsden, Alabama, not very different from Germany. In fact, Gadsden, Alabama is a deeply cultured metropolis routinely referred to as the Munich of the United States. During my research, I found old ATF records that indicate that Ranger made a little over 8,022 LRs, almost certainly all of them being Walther TPHs from 1986 to 1988. And according to forum and blog posts that I've read, by every indication, 1986 was the start of TPH manufacture in the United States. Walthers made by Ranger were not of the best quality. And in 1989, a company called EMCO took over the manufacture of the TPH and the PPK. EMCO was also based in bustling megacity Gadsden, Alabama. Richard routinely visited the factories in Gadsden and told me that while Rangers and the early EMCO guns were a bit rough, by the mid-90s, EMCO hit its stride and was doing such a good job manufacturing PPKs and TPHs that Walther Germany was buying them from Interarms to fill their own export orders. According to the American Rifleman, EMCO set aside a dedicated TPH assembly line in the mid-90s instead of sharing workspace with the PPK, and the quality of the mid-90s and newer TPHs are seen as top-notch. EMCO would send a case of 20 TPHs to Interarms. Richard would pick 2 random guns from that case, and he'd test fire each of them with 2 magazines as a QC measure. All told, EMCO made nearly 25,000 Walther TPHs in 22 LR, but only about 625 ACP between 1989 and 1999 when Interarms went out of business. Wikipedia says that number's 10,000, so that's the number that you'll hear from lazy-ass YouTube videos about this gun where no one did any actual research. TPHs were originally produced in naked stainless only, like this one. But after a while, blued steel models were produced in very, very small numbers, and those fetch a hefty sum on Gunbroker or any other auction site due to their rarity, as do the blued magazines. While a blued or stainless TPH started at $350 back in the 80s, today you're lucky if you can get a good one for under $1,000 with just 1 magazine. Spare mags are $150 a pop as we sit here today, and over $200 for blued magazines. Coincidentally, 25 ACP factory mags only fetch about $30 because A, no one has a 25 cal TPH, and B, 25 cal sucks in theory and in practice. I got lucky and I found this near pristine model for only $750 locally, and I got 2 magazines but no box. Now I did find a box for $100, an original TPH box for $100 in Houston, and believe it or not, you're not going to believe this, I found for $7 on eBay an original Walther TPH box sticker. So I stuck it on the side and I handwrote my serial number in. Looks just like the real thing. I even bought a mint original copy of Guns and Ammo from February 1989 so I could read Wiley Clapp's original review of this gun in Guns and Ammo and see how his experience matched my own. Turns out, it does pretty much exactly. TPHs are generally regarded as reliable. Generally. Some can be finicky depending on when they were made, where, and now, with the oldest ones being almost 40 years old, how well they've been maintained. Richard told me that the biggest issue with the TPH were misfires and light strikes, almost always in double action. So that's one issue that the TPH was kind of notorious for, was getting light hammer strikes. Let's see if a second strike will do it. There we go. Apparently, earlier models used a red mainspring, which was far too heavy for the gun. Now, later models used a silver mainspring, and they had no issues. In any event, Wolf Springs, if you're familiar with the company, still makes springs for the TPH, and the regular power hammer springs should make your TPH 100% reliable. Another issue with early TPHs is that lighter rounds weren't generating enough recoil for this stainless steel reciprocating slide to cycle. Interarms fixed this by making the barrels actually smaller in diameter than the average 22 LR barrel by several thousandths of an inch. Now, this didn't pose a safety threat, but it did create enough back pressure to give the gun a little extra oomph, to cycle the slide. Occasionally, owners would send their guns back to Interarms to be repaired after they installed threaded barrels. They didn't realize that the issue wasn't with the gun itself, but it was because the third-party barrels that they installed on their guns were using standard, normal 22 barrel specifications, which would ruin the tuning of the pistol and render them unreliable. That said, these guns are fantastic to suppress because of the fixed barrel and because cycling's aided with a little extra back pressure from your suppressor. Hands down, best way to thread this thing, send it into Tornado Technologies. Tornado does what Walther has done in many of its 22s in recent times. As you can see here, they actually thread a little bit underneath the slide, and then they fit the barrel with this threaded muzzle device, 1/2x28 at the end, and they give you a thread protector for it. And if you want, you can always just remove this barrel extension, and it's back to its normal look, as Walther intended, but you've got the option to use a suppressor. For this video, I outfitted my TPH with Rugged's brand new Mustang 22 silencer. It might be one of the best 22 pistol cans on the market right now. It's Rugged's lightest suppressor ever. They made it with titanium and 7075 aircraft grade aluminum, so it weighs a mere 3.3 ounces in full configuration, and you can even do a K or a shorty configuration that's only 3.5 inches long and only 2.4 ounces light. With this combo, you've got a suppressed 22 that weighs 17 ounces. The Mustang uses keyed baffles that you can clean yourself, which is kind of a big deal. It's threaded in 1/2x28 direct mount, and Rugged claims that you'll get about 112 decibels from this can, and I believe that. Somehow it's less than $400 from Silencer Shop. Depending on the dealer you use, it's about $100 off the already low $465 MSRP. Shooting the Walther TPH, especially suppressed, is moped levels of fun. It doesn't have a lot of horsepower, but for some reason, it's still a blast. Something about shooting 22 through a compact handgun is just arousing. I've had experience in the past with tiny tip-up barrel 22s being a little bit snappy, not all that fun to shoot. The TPH, on the other hand, it's got a great grip angle, a nice stainless steel frame, the stainless steel full reciprocating slide, heavy enough that 22 is a breeze, but small and light enough that it's smaller than the palm of your hand, and you could actually comfortably pocket carry this if you wanted to. The sights are, of course, no surprise here, just like the Walther PPK. That is to say, they're not great, but you didn't buy this gun to shoot your local IDPA match with. You got it probably because it's cool, and maybe because you wanted to stow this thing in your pocket. Bigger, better sights would have detracted from the overall purpose of this gun. The TPH was reliable with the multiple types of 22 that I ran through it. There were a couple of times where either I had light strikes or hard primers, maybe a little bit of both on the first double action trigger pull, but a second pull on the double action, single action gun would drive the point home. And that's one of the cool things about it. It's double action, single action. So it's nice to have in a rimfire where ammo tends to be less reliable than centerfire. If you mash that trigger a second time after it doesn't go off the first time, you typically get what you want from it. Speaking of that, this trigger's a little bit like a relationship on this gun. The single action is a delightful 2.5 pound first date, very crisp. The double action is a 12 pound, 3 kids in college with your mother-in-law in the guest bedroom, 20th anniversary. Oof. Richard warned me that these guns were a little weak on the first double action trigger pull, and that actually panned out to be true with my copy, so maybe I need to put the Wolf springs in it. Now, the Mustang silencer was a great match for the TPH, especially considering you could run it in that short K config by removing the last 4 baffles in that segment of the tube. I wasn't really wowed by the performance of the Mustang in K configuration with regular supersonic ammo. However, the full baffle stack is like movie quiet, and as fun as it gets whenever you shoot it. It's when I was shooting subsonics through the full baffle stack that I realized how good the Mustang can sound with the right ammo. Okay, that's silly quiet. That is actually really, really silent. So after that great experience with the subsonics, I removed the front half of the baffle stack again so I could run more subsonics through the K config, or the mini can, and it actually sounded really good for its size. It makes you wonder, is this the perfect combo for someone in covert ops? As I alluded to in the beginning of this video, there are rumors that CIA, or at least CIA agents, purchased and used the Walther TPH. And as it turns out, those rumors are absolutely true. First of all, if you check out this old ad for the TPH from the 80s and 90s, Walther flat out says that government agents used this gun. Now that, of course, you and I know could be marketing bullshit. But our buddy Richard Hoffman from InterArms confirmed that on numerous occasions, CIA agents personally brought their own Walther TPHs into InterArms for routine maintenance. Agents were so appreciative of Richard's work on their TPHs that they were actually kind enough to gift him with an official CIA cross pin that Richard still has. There was also a rumor that InterArms, being only 15 minutes from the CIA, was actually an arms dealing, importing, and exporting front for the CIA. While InterArms may or may not have engaged in business with the CIA, or at least CIA agents, the company itself was a private company, and Richard said that employees there found the CIA front rumors to be amusing. Getting to less and less reliable scuttlebutt is that the old Seven Trees Holster Company actually made shoulder holsters for suppressed TPHs to be used by secret agents in the CIA and the FBI. Finally, the wildest rumor I've heard about the TPH, or maybe about any gun ever, is that there was apparently an FBI agent who would keep his TPH in a condom for bathing suit pocket carry. Now, could this be true? Obviously, I couldn't find anyone to substantiate this other than some dude from the Walther forums, but you never know. It could be true. I mean, let's be honest. Think of that one buddy you know who would 100% do something like that, and tell me that there wasn't at least one person in the intelligence community who thought that this was a good idea. I decided to test this out to see if it would actually work. Yes, putting the TPH in a condom. Oops, just dropped my monster condom for my magnum dong. This might actually work. Dude, it actually works. Absolutely. It works, I bet. And I bet you could shoot it, but you'd probably get one round.
One round, yeah. Yeah, it might bounce around. It might clear. You never know.
Let's see here. Well, $750 22. All right, I think that did it. I think we're good. And yeah, see, it just ripped again. But I mean, I guess hypothetically, you know, if you did have this wrapped in a rubber and you were wearing like your swim trunks or whatever, this would probably do a decent job. I would think so. I'm gonna say unlikely, but plausible. That's the verdict. Unlikely, but plausible. Ribbed, for your pleasure. Ah, finally, an actual use for condoms. This probably could work, but you'd need something thicker, like Jonas Brothers in Thailand double-walled rubbers, if you were going to bring this rig to Waikiki. In conclusion, the Walther TPH is a bit of a niche gun, but my God, it's one cool-ass niche. And really, that's what this is about. This gun is just so neat. I can't think of many people who would need to carry a pocket 22 versus like a pocket 380, but I'm sure they exist. And 22 is hardly the ideal carry caliber, but there's no question that this humble rimfire has put more than a few dongs in the dirt this week alone. The TPH is small, and it does resemble a Walther PPK, and it's well made. So there's some limited utility here. Again, $1,000 for a Pocket 22 that isn't made anymore. Not the most pragmatic purchase that I've made, but you're not doing this for practicality, are you, my friend? Stuff it in a pants pocket, coat pocket, whatever, and you've got an extra 7 rounds on tap, even if it is just 22. I mean, after all, this gun is spy tested and CIA approved, right? Don't forget your condoms. Thanks a ton, as usual, for watching this video. Thank you to our sponsors, Ventura Munitions. Ventura Munitions, they send in all the ammo we use for these videos. Thank you to Top Gun Supply. They give away 4 guns a month to our Patreon and Subscribe Star supporters. Check out the rules at our little website down here below if you want more details on that. But we're just appreciative that you're watching. Couldn't do it without you. Thanks, guys. Take care.
We'll be right back.